Hi, welcome back to the Sweet Carolina Show. I'm Colette Harrington, and you're listening to Kinetic Hi-Fi. Now get ready to get hypnotized. And I say that it's sort of tongue-in-cheek, but sort of not, because we have Rebecca Shaw from Charleston. Can you say that for me so I get it right?
Charleston Hypnosis Center.
Hypnosis Center. And Rebecca, as some of you know, has been on the Sweet Carolina TV show, but today we got her on the radio show. And I'm so glad you've joined us today. And one of the things I want to talk to you specifically about, first let's just talk about what it is you do.
Yeah. Okay, so I have been doing hypnotherapy with general public people from all ages. I think my youngest client ever was 2.
2 years old?
2 years old, yes.
Wow, how does that work?
She was a little girl that had cancer, and they had to remove one of her eyes, and they were trying to do an implant of a false eye, and she wouldn't hold still for it. So I actually ended up making her a hypnosis recording that to her sounded like a story, and she's in the story, and they were able to, with those suggestions, get her to relax enough to calm down and get that fitting for her eye.
That had to, wow, I feel a little bit emotional.
Yeah.
That had to be really rewarding for you.
It was. So youngest 2, lots of little kids for sports and school, and then I would say up to 70s, 80s. Everyone has something they want to work on, and I think most people realize that sometimes what keeps you from making that change is something inside, a way of thinking or a way of feeling that's holding you back from making that change.
You know what? I think that women particularly need this because we tend to be more controlled by our feelings. Men seem to be able to separate that and separate their choices, where women like myself have a more difficult time of that. And that's specifically what I wanted to talk to you about, even though I let that out in the first part. I just said, tell us about this, but I specifically want to talk to you about, and I left a big blank there.
Yeah.
But I specifically do want to talk about women. But before we do that, I want to dispel a few things, because sometimes when people think of hypnosis, you know, they think of the little cartoon character, you know.
Yeah, waving the pendulum
you're
or
getting sleepy. Or when you go to some kind of event and a hypnosis guy comes out and he makes half the room go to sleep and do crazy things.
Absolutely. It is really different when you're in a clinical setting. The stage shows, people really do get up on stage and kind of lose their inhibitions with that. But one, I think, big myth that everyone seems to walk in the door with is, I'm going to be knocked out. And people even worry if they're, quote unquote, not knocked out, that it didn't work. The hypnosis didn't work.
Are they supposed to be like going to another land?
Yeah, I guess. I've personally never been hypnotized where I don't hear what the hypnotherapist is saying. Hypnosis is actually a deep state of focus concentration, where when you get into that state, your creative mind is in the lead and your logical mind has downplayed. And then what happens amazingly is you'll have a body, a physiological response, an emotional response to those suggestions. And that seems to have a deeper effect. So when you watch a movie and then in the beginning they say it's, you know, so-and-so playing James Bond and there's these great stunts and we all go, okay, great. But we forget that it's the actor and the stunts. We get into the story and we get scared or sad. And so hypnosis is kind of like, I guide you into having these stories internally, but it's for a purpose, to achieve a goal that you want to achieve. And using that same innate ability we have. And that's what I love about it. It's an innate ability we have. It's an untapped resource. And now you get to use it for something that will hopefully make an improvement in your life.
Rebecca, that's interesting what you just said there on a number of levels. But I suddenly saw basically what you're doing is putting a movie screen in somebody's mind, only they're in the movie, but you're still watching the movie.
Yeah, you're watching it or you're in it. You're watching
kind of you be in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And athletes have done this for years. I mean, even before the general public knew about hypnosis, athletes from way back when, they set their mind, they see it, they live it over and over again, winning that race or doing the things they have to do.
They call it mental rehearsal imagery, but it really is the same thing. And I would venture to say that no top peak performing athlete has ever gotten to that level without doing that, whether they were taught the techniques of visualization and imagery or they intuitively knew to do that. And just think of it simplified. If you want to sink that 10-foot putt, if you're visualizing missing the putt, you're much more likely to miss it versus if you're visualizing sinking it perfectly.
Okay, well, let's talk about sinking putts for women because there are a lot of issues that women have to deal with. Tell us about some of those and what people come to see you for.
Yeah, those issues I think are close to my heart because hypnosis originally, the reason I got into it is it radically improved my depression, so much so that I thought I was stuck with it. It had this ability to clear emotions that we hold on some deeper level, and you might be logically 10 years past an upset, a trauma, and you want to be past it or that you are. And this is where I work with a lot of women going through divorce and breakups and separations, that it really can help you to get that clarity and wisdom and turn that experience into, what did I learn from that? What can I take from it? How can I be stronger? So a lot of the work that I do with women in that regard is it's all about empowerment and taking that visual imagery. And if you're a feeling person, it's about connecting with the feeling of being empowered, of being different.
Okay, so you can actually use a person's feelings to do that, to make that change. Because I'll tell you, I sometimes just seem to be all over the board, and I always just think I got to get rid of those. But to use those to motivate you, what a far more better way. Yeah,
and actually use them as insight. And I would say collectively, that is one of the biggest themes I see with women is we feel like our emotions are our Achilles heel.
Right. Of course, we all do.
Yeah, but in this journey that I take you through, they become your power. And they become your guiding system to intuitively lead you so that you don't fear those emotions anymore. And I will tell you that when you don't have a good relationship with your emotions, you smoke, you eat to stuff the emotions. That's a huge one for women.
Oh, yeah, me and eating. I love, I work out so crazy. It's ridiculous, but I eat as crazy. And then I say to my mind, well, I worked out, so I get to eat that crazy. But it's like you're fighting with yourself, and that's not a fun place to be in. And I know a lot of people out there can relate to what I'm saying.
That inner tug of war.
Yes.
Where you know what you should be eating, but then it comes that moment and you lose all your willpower. And again, that's why I love hypnosis. So when you're talking about weight loss, there's two pieces to it. One, if you know you're an emotional eater, it's giving you the tools to separate out eating from your emotions. And then second, when you change how you think about those foods, you will not eat them anymore. I went through a weight loss program this past spring, so I can, I walk the walk, but you can be hypnotized to not care about sweets and refined carbs. And those are the two big ones for everybody.
I did 2 good days of diet in a row, and my husband and I stopped at a Cracker Barrel, and they have all this candy. I mean, like, you come out, and when I say you're like a little kid in a candy store, you really are, because there's candy everywhere. And I was just like, the candy I bought came more than to the meal I bought. And we were driving all the way back from Charlotte to Charleston. So I was just like, stuffing all in me. I'm like, okay, there, just went those 2 days. And it's not as satisfying as you think. But if you can stop me from doing that, I don't think there's any amount of money I would pay to be stopped from doing that.
Okay, so picture this. That's the island that you're on. Come over to this island over here where you can walk through a Cracker Barrel, and it has no effect on you. I mean, you can look at those sweets and you can take them or leave them. Imagine that.
Even Hershey's bars with nuts in them? I don't know. You know what? But I'm
you
trusting
have to be ready.
I'm trusting you because I saw that you lost weight. I saw that you did this. And the other thing that I think is such a great testimony, and let's talk about this for a minute, is how you got into this.
Yeah.
You were going through a depressed time. What was going on then?
I grew up in an alcoholic home. My father was a drinker before he had me, and he drank, until I was about 35. But when I was in my teens, we went through family counseling. In my 20s in college, I went to counseling, and they gave me a life sentence at the center there. They meant well, but they said, you're depressed. You're going to have this for life. It's probably biological. And they wanted me to take meds, and that just didn't work for me. So I struggled with it. And then when I went to California, I was living at the beach. I had a great job, good money. Life was idyllic. And that's when I knew that something was really wrong, because my outside world was perfect and I still felt bouts of sadness inside. So I said, okay, I need to try something different. Intuition, I don't know what you want to call it. I went and tried hypnosis, and it was amazing. I went for a session and I felt like I lost about 50 pounds of emotional baggage that I was carrying.
That is something.
Yeah. And I just kept going back. And, after a while, I said, oh my gosh, I want to do this for people. I quit engineering to do this because I felt so stuck. And I thought, if I can help other people who feel stuck with something in their lives, then that's my mission. And it still is. Yeah.
What a beautiful story. I mean, you got something and you decided to give back and just pursue it. And I mean, tell me about, for you, and let's stick with women. I mean, of course, we had this beautiful child that had, their eye taken care of, and they were able to do that surgery on her. Some stories that have meant something to you with some of the women you've treated, and of course we won't use names.
I would definitely say there have been some women who have come to me with eating disorders, so whether it's binging or purging or not eating, and talk about people who feel stuck.
Just doing this over and over.
Yeah, and just feeling like I can never get out of this cycle. And then just, I'm working with about 4 women right now currently with that problem. And even with one session, just getting this aha moment that instead of trying to focus on the food, let's focus on how you deal with emotions, help you to get stronger, help you to deal with your stress in different ways. Because then when you're dealing with your stress in healthier ways, your subconscious will let go of those unhealthy habits. And so when someone says, like, I never thought this could be different, my heart just goes, I love that. And so I would definitely say it's women with emotional eating issues, and even some women separately from that. This is really interesting. I've had many women come to me who are married, and they come because they want to stay married, but they're having obsessions with men outside the marriage.
You know what? I think that there are a lot of people that do that or do it on different levels, because there's no way all these romance novels, there's no way that 50 Shades of Purple or whatever that is, 50 Shades of Grey is successful if people aren't living those in their heads. And we're so deceived by society, so deceived. You know what? I want to talk about that more. Why don't we take a break here? You're listening to the Sweet Carolina Show at Kinetic Hi-Fi. Welcome back. I'm here with Rebecca Shaw of Charleston Hypnosis Center.
Yeah.
And we're talking about hypnosis. And before we left, we wanted to talk about
women and using hypnosis if you have an obsession.
Yes.
Which
I think is a very interesting thing, because a lot of people have this. And in fact, oh gosh, I don't even know if I should say this, but a certain family member of mine is always reading romance books, night and day and night. And I'm like, what is going on here? That's an obsession too, when you're stuck in that. And it's very hard because we watch movies and we watch TV and it's all about romance. Everything's got to be new, fantastic. And so I think women do get stuck in those places.
Yeah, it's interesting because from a hypnotherapist perspective, an obsession is a mental habit. It's a habit. When you're talking about focusing on whether it's on romance novels or some man in your life, whether he's your husband or not.
Some former person or someone you met and you just keep thinking them over and over.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because it can be an escape, a way of not focusing on the fact that you might be unhappy with your current partner. If it's someone from the past, what's really profound is that oftentimes if you're obsessing on someone that you've dated or been with in the past, and even your logical mind, half the time these women say, if I could be with this guy right now, I wouldn't even be with him. Why am I dreaming about him? Why am I thinking about him? And they come desperate to, release that. And always, the subconscious mind always has a good intention. If you're doing that, if someone's doing that, it's because the subconscious thinks it's doing something good for you. And usually, believe it or not, it's because there's still wisdom there. There's still something from that past experience, lesson that you need to learn, or something you still need to heal. Because oftentimes when someone hurts us, we can leave a part of ourselves back there with the relationship, our joy, our happiness, our flirty side or something. So it's different for every woman that comes in, but it's really profound, the work that happens.
What do you think about when it's somebody that, they meet somebody, maybe it's even someone their husband works with or whatever, and they just find themselves thinking about that person day and night. Is that a little bit different than somebody who's obsessing over a past relationship?
It is. Usually that's the person obsessing because that person has qualities they want. Maybe the husband doesn't have those qualities, or it gets their mind off the fact that the relationship they're currently in isn't working. And instead of beating yourself up about it,
and women do that.
Yeah.
We do that all the time. We're experts.
Expert
self-beaters.
Yes. Is again to use the hypnosis as this powerful insight tool to discover what does this really mean for me? Why is this happening, and what do I need to know to release it? And that's really beautiful.
That's a really difficult thing to let go of. I'm really glad you shared that with me, because I went through a time period in my life where I went through that. Not with my current relationship. It's terrible. It's like a drug addict who keeps going back for the drugs, or keeps going, or somebody who drinks.
Exactly. That's a great description. It is exactly like that.
And you just keep repeating it over and over. Do you find that when people start to share with you what's going on, their initial reactions to cry?
Sometimes they do. I think sometimes they're really desperate or frustrated. Certainly sometimes in the hypnosis people will cry, but I think that's really healthy because it offers you, again, a clearing, a release to move through that. And again, we talked earlier about how so many of us, we've been brought up in a culture, I would say women, especially 30s, 40s, maybe it is such for the 20-year-old women, but okay, be like men, don't cry, don't be emotional in the corporate world. And if you do, it's a weakness and you're not as respected. So we've been, I don't know if you want to use the word indoctrinated, but to say it's not okay to feel. If I do, it's me. I'm vulnerable. I'm weak. And but I think that's all coming full circle now, because I really believe the women who are on the cutting edge nowadays, they own their masculine energy and they are welcoming the feminine energy of what your emotions offer you. And so it's a more full full life experience. And if you think about Oprah, she cries. She's cried on so many of her shows, but we look at her as a very strong woman.
Yeah, that's really true. I was thinking too with women, one of the other things that we have to deal with, it, we're not going to have a lot of time to touch on this, but I wanted to touch on it a little bit, that I see a problem right now. And when I talk to my girlfriends and everything else, especially as you get in your later 30s, as you get into your 40s, not feeling a part of society anymore, feeling connected, feeling like you're ugly, feeling like you're no longer pretty, you're not getting that same kind of attention you used to get. You could be the prettiest person from your day, but, somebody younger walks in and, and society, that's not just women feeling that way. Society really does it to us.
It's and aging and how we feel as we're aging.
Yeah. I mean, have you had people that come in that need help in getting through that process so they can start seeing themselves sort of young and beautiful again, but young and beautiful at their age? Because I hate that. I hate all these campaigns out there, what's your real age? Your real age is your real age. Okay. I got news for you.
Well, it touches on, I think, another really important theme that I see with women coming in is opening up to your own well-being, what you deserve in your life. And when you're in your 40s, it's really about, instead of looking to get that outside validation from the guys walking down the street, is asking yourself, what do I need and want to be happy? And I think a lot of women are going through, especially after a divorce, is going through that time. And that if you're blocked to your own well-being, you'll block money, which means increased prosperity. You'll block love. You'll block having men give you that attention. You'll block taking care of yourself.
Because a lot of it is your attitude about yourself.
Absolutely.
And when you're feeling good, and I know this is true because I got my hair done the other day and I was walking around and I was like, I look so good and so cool. And then of course I did it myself and that feeling was gone. But so that's why hypnosis is so important. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, Rebecca, how do they do that?
They can go to my website at charlestonhypnosiscenter.com, and my phone number is 843-597-9200.
And we did touch on women's issues, and we've just got a minute left. Just tell us some other things that you do, too.
A lot of kids for sports and school. Men come in, smokers. A lot of smokers come.
Boy, I can relate to that.
Hypnosis really helps with the mental habit, and that's what most people struggle with. And so I see a lot of men for smoking and even for sports.
Yeah, that's interesting. Men aren't coming in. I'm still obsessing over my they just go on the internet, go to a website.
Yeah.
Anyway, give us the website again.
charlestonhypnosiscenter.com.
And the phone number.
843-597-9200.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us here at the Sweet Carolina Show at Kinetic Hi-Fi. We want you to know we're about you. We're connecting the Charleston community. It's been so much fun. I hope you'll tune in next Thursday, 3 to 5 on the Sweet Carolina Show.